folks into the webinar. So yes, hello Jenna, and yes, hello everyone who is seeing this. Thank you for joining today's this month's LAOP webinar on homeownership scams. Just a quick message before we get started, and I turn it over to my colleague Jen Bueno. Please do not enter any personal information into the chat, any kind of social security numbers, phone numbers, addresses, anything like that. If you have any questions, any general questions, we are more than happy to take care of those either throughout the presentation if I find a good time to stop, or at the end of the presentation. So yes, please no personal information. General questions are welcome, and I will continue to let in stragglers as the meeting continues here, but it's 2 o'clock, so I will turn it over to Jen Bueno. Jen, if you want to take it away.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Bueno. I'm an attorney over at Southern Minnesota Regional Legal Services with Isaiah. I work for the Legal Advocacy for Older Persons Project, and this is our October 2025 webinar. Today, we're going to be learning about homeownership scams and programs. Today is October 28th, 2025. All right, let's get into it. A little bit about LAOP. Really quick, we provide free legal help on critical issues affecting population 60 years old and older. We do not look at income and assets when trying to assess them for qualifying for legal services at SMERLs. We just look at the specific legal issue and the social and economic need of the individual. These are some common legal issues in LAOP that we cover. We cover nursing home discharges, assisted living contract terminations, things like appeals of public benefit denials, etc. And if anyone is interested in submitting an intake, if you feel you have a legal issue you want to talk to us about, you can call our statewide hotline at 1-877-MY-MINNESOTA-LAW, or you can submit an intake on our website online. Okay, so our agenda for today, the first half, we're going to learn how to identify scams concerning your home as a homeowner. And then the second half of our presentation today, we're going to learn about programs that benefit homeowners that help them with repairs and other issues. So homeowner scams are fraudulent schemes that target homeowners, often through deceptive repair solicitations, things like title fraud, financial manipulation, offering things like foreclosure rescue, or committing mortgage fraud. So let's look at some common homeowner scams. The first one is something called a home repair scam. These are common signs so that you'll be able to know when you are facing a potential home repair scam. Usually it will start with you'll get an unsolicited contractor appearing at your door. Sometimes it'll be after a storm. Sometimes it'll just be out of the blue. If it's after a storm, you might notice they'll be claiming to notice some damage on your house, whether it be on the siding or on the roof. If it's out of the blue, they might claim to be doing projects in the area and have leftover materials from other jobs. And hey, we'll cut you a really good deal if you want to have this project done. We have these leftover materials. Or they also might say something like, "Hey, we have these materials and we want to get better known in the neighborhood. We want to make your home a model home, and so we'll make a special deal for you on this project so that we can." Basically show off our work, and your home will be the model home for this area. You'll notice that they'll begin to pressure you about doing immediate repairs, particularly the ones that come after the storm, because that will be tied into their claim that, well, you want to hurry up before the insurance gap closes. They'll also a lot of times ask for upfront payment or cash only payment. That is a red flag. Sometimes along with this or in lieu of this, they'll pressure you to sign a bad financing agreement. And a bad financing agreement will be something that long-term, it just won't be sustainable for you to meet that. These individuals will avoid written contracts. You notice they won't have any references or won't talk about having references. They won't be, upfront with providing proof of licensing or proof of insurance. And then once they receive that money from you, once you've signed that bad financing agreement, they'll either abandon the job altogether or they'll do, this half effort work and leave this shoddy effort behind, and you're left with a damaged house or a half done house, and you're out thousands of dollars. So this is a scenario here to kind of put it into practice a little bit. This one is the free inspection scam. So in this scenario, a contractor came to this homeowner offering a free roof inspection. And this contractor got onto the roof, took photos, was exaggerating the damage, basically really building up this urgency to get the homeowner to feel like they needed to make these repairs right away. They said you need to act very quickly before the insurance claim window closes. They even said things like, oh, we'll work with the insurance company for reimbursement. And notice they demanded a large deposit for the materials. After they received payment, the contractor vanished and the homeowner was left with a damaged roof and a potential insurance dispute. So, how to protect yourself from a home repair scam? You want to make sure you're always getting multiple estimates or quotes. Always check for credentials like licensing. Ask for references, especially if somebody is coming to your door out of the blue. Ask them, who are you? Verify them. I want to know your licensing. Show me what projects have you done in the neighborhood? Who can I call to verify your work? Never ever pay these professionals in cash. Never. Make sure you always get a written contract as well. Don't be afraid to ask them for proof of insurance. This is something that they should be carrying with them, especially if they're going to be door to door trying to conduct business. Make sure that you don't give in to pressure tactics. Be very in tune with that kind of behavior and that nuanced language that they might use so you can pick up on that. And don't ever sign anything that you don't understand. A lot of times, as I was mentioning, they want to create this sense of urgency and pressure. You will always have time to sleep on it. Don't sign anything that you haven't had time to read. Don't sign things that you haven't had time to research. Okay. Next is title and deed fraud. This one looks a little bit different. So the last one, you have someone coming up to your door. It's right there in your face. This is a little bit more sneaky. This is a little bit more of a passive fraud. You won't even know that this has happened to you most of the time until it's too late, unfortunately. So in title and deed fraud, the scammer will look for a vacant home, your second home, your vacation home. It won't be your primary residence. So it'll be a home that they'll take the risk that it's not being monitored very much. Nobody's paying attention to it very much. The scammer will then forge a quitclaim deed and impersonate you, the owner, and then transfer that title into their name. And then that fake deed, they'll go and they'll take that and record it at the county recorder's office. The scammer will then try to monetize. Sometimes they might wait. They might wait or they might do it right away, but eventually they will try to monetize this property. You'll see that they'll either try to sell this property out from under you or rent it without you even knowing. Sometimes they'll even take out a loan against the home or use that home as collateral. Um, you won't know this is happening. You might be fortunate enough to receive a utility or property tax bill that you'll notice is no longer addressed to you, and you'll be like, what is this random name on here? Um, you might get random calls from real estate agents saying that, hey, we saw your property being listed. Um, and they contact you to list a property that you don't own. And you might also receive a letter welcoming you to your new home when This is a home that you didn't just move into. So those are signs of title and deed fraud. Let's look at an example of that. This is a real world scenario. This is a Texas case. A criminal impersonated an elderly father who moved away for health reasons. And this criminal used public records to forge a deed. And then he sold the house to a family that he met on Facebook Marketplace. And he kept the profits. And the fraud was only discovered because the father's other son drove by the property and saw random new people living in it. And that's how this was discovered. Another one that I saw more recently happened in 2024. A woman tried to do one of these scams using Elvis's Graceland property, if you can believe it. So nobody is safe from these kinds of scams. Okay, so some tips on how to protect yourself from title and deed fraud. Number one, you can sign up for a property fraud alert system through the county recorder's office. That's going to ding you anytime something is like filed or recorded in association with your property. You also want to make sure that you keep your original deed in a safe place. You want to be cautious always about sharing your personal info online. A lot of times when scammers go to impersonate you, the first place they go is your social media, just trying to find out about you online. Obviously, that's where they pull the information to try to impersonate you. So just be careful about what you share. You always want to be suspicious of unsolicited offers to buy or rent your house, especially if it's from someone that you don't know. And of course, when doing real estate transactions, you always want to work with a reputable real estate agent and other associated professionals. Next up is foreclosure rescue scams. These scams will target you because they know that you are in a desperate situation. It's when you're facing foreclosure. They're going to promise to pay off your mortgage. They're going to promise to lower your payments. They promise to get you a loan modification. That's how these scams begin. You'll notice that they charge you, here we go again, upfront fees for the services. Upfront fees is always going to be a red flag. They may also tell you to stop making your mortgage payments to your lender. This is a big one too. They trap you when they do this because it's going to hurt your credit. It's going to further bury you into this scam and limit your options. So never, never stop making payments to your mortgage lender. The fact that they're asking you to do this is a huge red flag. These scammers might also convince you to sign over the title to your home. This is called like a rent to buy scheme. That should also be kind of perking your ears to the fact that this is a scam. And in these scenarios, after you pay them or after you've signed over the deed, that's when they take the money, that's when they stop all communication. And next thing you know, you're not even the owner of your house anymore. And these scammers will sell your house without even you knowing about it. Here's another scenario. This one's called Maria's False Savior. So poor Maria, she fell behind on her mortgage payments. She got a letter from her lender saying that they're foreclosing on her. That caused her to panic, of course. And then shortly after that, in her mailbox, she got a letter or a flyer with the headline saying foreclosure solutions guaranteed. She contacted the company on this flyer, and the company claimed to be foreclosure rescue specialists. And of course, they send an agent to her home. And this agent tells Maria that she's got terrible credit, so she's not going to be able to refinance, but hey, we can help. We can save you. And this agent proposes that Maria sign a document to transfer her property deed over to this temporary investor who will pay off her overdue mortgage. Red flag. He then tells her she can continue to live in the home and will make rent payments to this investor, and she'll have the option to buy it back after the credit improves. This agent tells Maria to sign right away and hurry up and act before the foreclosure becomes final. He's, rushing her through the documents. She's just not having time to read. He's brushing off her questions. These are all the classic signs. Maria, because she's in a desperate situation, she just unknowingly signs. She doesn't even realize what she's done. She's making these monthly rent payments to this fraudulent company. In the meantime, she's thinking, great, I've resolved everything. My problems are over. In the meantime, this whole time, the scammer has not been making her mortgage payments. Instead, the scammer is taking her money and the foreclosure process is still moving forward. And now that the investor has this deed, he either refinances Maria's home to extract the equity or he sells it. And then Maria all of a sudden receives an eviction notice, and that's when she realizes I'm not even the owner of my own house anymore. I've lost all my equity, and now I'm still on the hook liable for this original mortgage. And a lot of times these scammers are long gone and they're very hard to track, and it's very hard to recover from something like this. Some ways that you can protect yourself from a foreclosure rescue scam. Again, never pay upfront fees. I'm going to be a broken record on this. It's because it applies to all of them. A legitimate service or a government program, they're not going to be charging you upfront ever. You also never want to stop paying your mortgage. The only time you're going to do something slightly different is when you're working with a legitimate company and that legitimate company has just arranged a new payment plan for you. Even then, you're not stopping paying your mortgage. You're just having a different payment, but never stop paying your mortgage. You also never want to sign your property deed to any other individual or company. Uh, no legit place is ever going to be asking you to do that. You always want to take time to verify any claims before making any decisions. As I mentioned earlier, you'll always have time to sleep on it. You'll always have time to research it. Don't let them use those pressure tactics on you. You also don't want them to isolate you. If they're saying, no, there's no need to contact your lender, don't worry about, contacting your lawyer. There's no need to talk to that HUD-approved housing counselor. That's a red flag. Um, You, of course, want to verify their credentials and licensing, just like you would with the professional in the other scams that we talked about. And when you are trying to work with any sort of foreclosure rescue company, um, if they're legitimate, you want to use legitimate resources like a HUD-approved housing counselor. And then any suspicious activity, you always want to report that to the Federal Trade Commission or the State Attorney General's office. And the last type I'm going to be talking about is mortgage fraud scams. From what I could tell, there's two types. This one is a little more complex, but from what I could understand, there were two types. There's fraud for housing, and that's where borrowers lie to get a home, and there's also fraud for profit. And this one is much more complex. It's kind of like an insider job. It involves industry um, professionals, which is pretty terrifying. So, mortgage fraud for housing, as I mentioned, it's committed by a borrower to acquire a home. Again, fees are collected up front, but they don't deliver. This looks like a bait and switch tactic. That's an example of a mortgage fraud for housing. So it tricks homeowners into transferring ownership instead of modifying a loan, which is how they first presented it to be. You want to be wary of these unsolicited offers for people coming asking, hey, let me help you with your mortgage, especially if they have a government-like name or a logo. You'll get a lot of fancy envelopes, fancy letterheads. Take time to really examine that. A lot of times they'll have really small um, print on the bottom where you can actually see where it says like this is a private company, this is not in association with like the state or federal government. that lets you know that this is a scam. You don't have to pay attention to these false letters. Um, Promises also of guaranteed approval. If they say, we'll approve you no matter what, you won't have to pay closing costs, we'll give you a really low interest rate. If it sounds too good to be true, then it likely is too good to be true. And these lenders are usually unlicensed or unregistered. That would be another sign. This scenario is an example of that bait and switch I mentioned. In this scenario, a homeowner was desperate to save their home and they received a flyer about refinancing. And the flyer promises low fixed rate mortgages and it would save them hundreds of dollars on their monthly payment. And so the homeowner here, Sarah, contacts them and asks to speak with the loan officer. This officer confirms that she's pre-approved for a fixed rate loan at 3.5%. Like, whoa, that's much lower than the current variable rate mortgage. Applying that to current day, right now we're at what, 6, 7%? If someone comes to you offering 3.5, maybe pause on that. Over several weeks, the loan officer collects all of Sarah's financial documents, keeping her focused on the attractive 3.5% rate. When it's time to sign the final papers, the loan officer is rushing Sarah through a thick stack of documents. And buried in there, without any clear explanation or clear indication, the terms are very, very different. You'll notice that the interest rate is higher. It's not 3.5, now it's 6. The loan is not a fixed rate. It's one of those ARM adjustable rate mortgages. Those start out very low, but then they skyrocket after the first year. Fun fact, these ARM adjustable rate mortgages bared a big responsibility in the early 2000s housing market crash, so they're not good. Excessive fees are also added. Unexplained and unnecessary fees have been packed into the closing costs. So this is the bait and switch. Sarah, feeling overwhelmed, she signs the documents without understanding the changes that have happened. And now she's stuck with a mortgage that she can't afford, and she loses the equity that she built up in her house. Now let's look at the mortgage fraud for profit. In the mortgage fraud for profit, as I mentioned, this involves industry insiders. An example of what this might look like is something like property flipping. Now, I know there's a lot of TV shows out there like Property Brothers and things of that nature. I'm not saying that they're scammers, but think of concepts like that, but it's much more darker and insidious purpose. So it's a property that's bought and then sold quickly at an inflated value, often after a fraudulent appraisal. And then the profit is taken, leaving a new buyer with a home that they can't afford and an inevitable default. And this involves usually coordination between multiple scammers working together to make a profit. And they use the inflated appraisals, the straw buyers, and falsified loan documents. You want to be cautious about requests for personal information and unusual payment instructions. A lot of times when you are buying a home and you get closer to that closing date, sometimes there's a really common scam where you'll get an email when it comes time to submit the payments. You'll get an email and they'll say, hey, wire transfer your closing payments here. And a lot of times people will accidentally submit their payments through that wire transfer scam because they think it's their title company, but it's not. So you want to be really careful. You want to always make sure that you're verifying your loan officer's payment instructions, the title company's instructions. Never send anyone payment other than to your loan servicer directly. You might also you might also get emails or calls with poor grammar, typos, odd requests for communication. That's also signs of these kinds of scams. And again, you're going to see those high pressure sales tactics. So this is the property flip scenario that I mentioned. So in this scenario, Emily is eager to purchase her retirement home. She's looking for something low maintenance. She wants something move-in ready or turnkey, and she sees one that's listed online. It is a low-cost flip. She's really excited about that. The agent ensures Emily that the home is a perfect investment and it's been recently renovated, has high-end finishes. They close quickly. They tell her, there's other buyers that are interested. The flipper has a relationship with a corrupt appraiser who provides a valuation that is artificially high on the property. So it then justifies the inflated sale price that's presented to Emily. And Emily's mortgage lender relies on this fraudulent appraisal to approve the loan. And Emily gets approved for a loan amount that's higher than the home's true value. And so now, after moving in, Emily discovers these renovations were only cosmetic and they were performed with low quality materials. And so there was paint used to cover damage and mold. She looks behind these fixtures and there's old, critical plumbing, electrical, HVAC systems that need repair. And these things were not properly disclosed, not properly inspected. And Emily then eventually realizes the true market value of the house is tens of thousands of dollars less than what she paid. So now she's trapped in a mortgage that she can't afford on a house that needs expensive immediate repairs, and she doesn't have the equity for that. So this is an example of corrupt professionals working together to do a mortgage fraud for profit scam. Protecting yourself generally from these mortgage fraud scams, you want to seek free help by contacting a HUD-approved housing counseling agency if you ever have trouble making payments. You also want to contact your lender directly if you're unsure about a communication or an offer. You can always hang up and call your lender back using the number on your mortgage statement. That's a great way to cross-check. You don't ever want to provide your personal and financial info to unfamiliar lenders over the phone or online. So you only want to share personal details like your social security number or account information on a secure website and not when you're on public Wi-Fi either. And if anyone is offering you a mortgage loan, again, you want to verify their identity. You have the option, you can opt out of trigger leads with credit bureaus when your lender performs a hard credit inquiry. I highly recommend that. That's going to lower the amount of scams that are even brought to you, that call into you during this home buying process. You want to obtain a free credit report and monitor it regularly. That's a great way to also be able to tell when somebody is attempting to scam you. Usually that might come up on your credit report right away. You never want to falsify information either, like by overstating your income. And you also want to decline last minute requests to change payment instructions or other closing details. So if who you believe to be someone from your title company or who you believe to be somebody from your lender says, hey, last minute, we're going to instead do payment this way. We're instead going to have this go through wire transfer or instead through this gift card. Red flag. You can decline that, and we recommend that you decline that. Stick to the original plan and then hang up and call your lender using the number on your mortgage statement to verify. I want to give an honorable mention to the We Buy Homes cash investors. So this is a scam where investors will make cash offers for homes using predatory tactics. This is where they will give lowball offers and use bad checks. And they look for homeowners who are uninformed or who are in desperate situations and who will accept 50 to 70% of the market value of their home just for a quick transaction in cash. These scams might approach you from in the form of phone calls, mailers, and you'll even see signage on the street. And this photo is an example of what you might see on the side of the road. Another thing I wanted to mention was AI. AI is becoming very, very indistinguishable. It continues to grow within real estate fraud and all sorts of other industries. It is used to create deep fakes and impersonate agents and home sellers. It can fabricate deeds, mortgages. It can falsify voices. It's very scary. You want to try to familiarize yourself with AI the best you can so that you can identify when you're faced with it. Something else that I recently learned that I want to pass along to you is just generally, even beyond homeowner scams, just generally, whenever you are on the phone and you believe that you might be in a situation where you're getting scammed, these scammers are trying to get you to verify information. You want to be careful that you never answer yes. You never say the word yes on these phone calls because then they will take the clip of that word yes and use AI, and they will use that to manipulate voices and use that yes answer to tap into your credentials, and that's how they can take some of your personal information. Okay, now we're on the second half. We are looking at home repair programs. First one I wanted to talk about is MSA Special Home Repairs. It's a Minnesota Supplemental Aid Home Repair Assistance Program. It's for persons who are disabled or who receive SSI. Specific services and eligibility vary based on the person's situation or their county. And as a side note, MSA also has special payments for people who need help paying for their housing or for household furniture and other expenses too. That would be outside of this special home repair program, but still within the MSA umbrella. So let's look at eligibility for MSA programs. You have to be 18 years or older. You have to receive SSI or be eligible to get it, except that your income would be too high. If you're receiving SSI, you need to have an asset limit of $2,000. And if you're not receiving SSI, your asset limit is $10,000. Conditions for these repairs. The person seeking the loan must own and live in the home. The requests that you're asking the money for, the repairs you need the money for, has to be to repair the roof, foundation, wiring, heating or cooling system. This includes the chimney, or water and sewer system. If you cannot make a good argument to relate the repair to one of these categories, it's likely that MSA will deny the funds for this repair. The person asking for the repair money must also document the need for the repairs. Something I will say further is I highly recommend itemizing the repairs needed. So for example, instead of asking for a general lump sum of, let's say, $7,000, I need $7,000 and I need these repairs done. But you're not necessarily assigning a dollar value to each one. Try to get very specific and have each dollar assigned to one of these items. because that will help MSA determine when they want to figure out which items they approve and which ones they don't. That will be really helpful. And if it rises to the level where, let's say you want to appeal a denial, that would be really helpful as well. Payments need to be reasonable when considering the condition of the home against the alternate cost-effective housing. So they're going to look at the rental costs of your area. They're going to look at the value of your home compared to the repairs that need to be made. They assess all of that when deciding whether or not they're able to give you those funds. The county agency also must determine if alternate resources are available for all or part of the repair cost. So if they feel like you have um, other methods to be able to pay for these costs, if there are other loans or grants that are available to you, they might direct you to go try that first before coming back to them. The county agency also has to verify that you don't have sufficient liquid assets to pay for the repair. And so if they determine that you do, then they make you apply those assets towards the cost of the repair, and then the county would pay the difference. The client also has to provide at least one estimate of the repair costs. The agency can require two additional estimates if they determine that the first one is excessive, and the cost of those estimates will get paid for with the special needs funds. And there must be a written agreement between the county agency and the vendor when the agency pays the vendor directly. The vendor has to complete the work too before payment is made. If you are interested in applying for an MSA home repair loan, you can apply online at mnbenefits.mn.gov. You can also apply on paper. They have a combined application form. You can mail that in or bring the completed form to your local county or tribal office. And this form is available in various different languages. Next home repair assistance program I want to talk about is the MVAC loan. MVAC stands for Minnesota Valley Action Council. They're a private nonprofit organization. They use state and federal resources, and they help those in need to secure that affordable housing, viable transportation, employment, training, and educational opportunities for children and parents. They have home improvement loans. They have the RLP loan and the ELP loan. That's the rehabilitation loan and the emergency and accessibility program. They also have something called a fix-up loan, and I'm going to talk about those today. So looking at the RLP and the ELPs, the rehabilitation loan program is used for basic home improvements that directly affect the home's safety, habitability, or energy efficiency. The emergency and accessibility loan program that addresses emergency home repairs or essential accessibility improvements for a household where somebody has a disability. These share the same eligibility and features. So for these two programs, you have to work with the participating rehab loan lender and meet the program income limits. You must not have assets exceeding $25,000, and you have to own and occupy the property that's being rehabbed. You must be current on all property taxes and mortgages for that property. And the maximum loan amount allowed is $37,500, and the maximum loan term is 10 to 15 years, depending on the property type. The loans can actually be forgiven if you don't sell or transfer your title or move or cease to occupy during that loan term. And you can get these programs for various property types. These are the types of improvements that can be made under the MVAC, RLP, and ELP programs. So as I mentioned, it's basic improvements about safety, livability, energy efficiency, also lead paint hazards, electrical wiring, furnaces, plumbing, septic, radon, mold, windows, siding, roof repair, things of that nature. Next is the MVAC Fix-Up Loan. The program requirements for this one, it's a Minnesota Housing Payback Home Improvement Loan. It's a low interest loan, and you have to qualify through your credit. And there's no there are income limits for this one. There are no income limits for the two that we just talked about. You do have to have a minimum credit score, and there is an owner occupancy requirement. For program features, they have loan amounts from $2,000 to $75,000. They offer secured and unsecured based on certain criteria. And you don't need to have very much equity in your home under this loan program. And they finance projects already started or that were completed within 120 days. What's interesting about this one is you can hire a contractor or do the work yourself. They're flexible in that way, and there's no prepayment penalty for this loan. These are the eligible projects under the MVAC fix-up loan. So this is things like porches and decks, bathroom and kitchen remodels, basements, again, furnaces with this one. Windows is also in this one. Insulation, roofs is also in this one. Here you can get tree removal. This one also does septic, mold and radon as well. This one also has an accessibility aspect to it. And this also repairs garages and does home additions as well. If you're interested in applying for these MVAC loans, you could call MVAC at 507-345-2436, or you can email their loans department. I have the email there. It's loans@mvac.org. And you can also visit their website. I've included the link there so that later when this is emailed to you, you can access that. Next, I wanted to mention the USDA Section 504 Home Repair Program. This is a program for low-income homeowners. It helps to repair and modernize their homes. It provides grants to the elderly, so it's a loan for low-income adult homeowners. If you are over a certain age, it's in the form of a grant. And if it's for the purpose of something that they would consider a health and safety hazard. Homeowners would need to live in an eligible rural area. So if you want to determine if you live in an eligible rural area, you can enter a specific your address on the USDA eligibility site, and that will let you know if your area qualifies. And the concept behind this repair program is that it helps people stay in their home and it helps them build savings over time, which long-term strengthens the community and helps local businesses and the economy. This repair program is governed by the Housing Act of 1949 as amended in the CFR. In looking at this home repair program, who can apply? Homeowners that live in the home can apply to this. You have to be unable to afford credit elsewhere. You have to have a household income that doesn't exceed the very low limit by your county. And if you're looking for that grant category for the elderly, you have to be 62 or older. So in looking at how much money can you get under this program, the max loan is $40,000 for the loan. The grant max is $10,000. If you're in an area that's considered a presidentially declared disaster area, the max grant for that home that's damaged would be $15,000. Loans and grants can be combined together under this program for up to $50,000 in assistance or $55,000 in disaster areas. In looking at the terms for the loan or the grant, the loans are termed for 20 years, and the interest rate for those loans are fixed at 1%. Full title service is required if the total outstanding balance on the Section 504 loans is greater than $25,000. Grants have a lifetime limit of $10,000, except in those disaster areas. In those cases, it's $15,000. And the grants must be repaid if the property is sold in less than 3 years. So those are some terms. If you're interested in applying to this USDA 504 program, applicants are encouraged to go through an informal pre-qualification process where they have to provide documentation. Applications are accepted through local RD offices year-round. Those are rural development offices. Approval times can depend on funding availability in your area, so you want to talk to a USDA home loan specialist for help with the application. I've included the website down here if you want to learn more. Just click the link and it should take you right to that. The last one I wanted to talk about in great detail is the Weatherization Assistance Program. It's called WAP. It provides free home energy upgrades to income eligible homeowners and renters. This helps save energy and it makes sure that your home is healthy and safe to live in. And it works closely with its companion program, the Energy Assistance Program. And so providers will come to your home and conduct a energy assessment to see if you qualify for cost-effective energy efficiency improvement and to see if that can be completed in your home. And these weatherization services would help decrease your annual energy cost by up to 30%. So it's pretty substantial. And looking at the types of upgrades they can do, it's exterior wall and attic insulation, air leakage reduction, again, furnace and boiler work, also water heaters. Also looking at ideas to help you reduce your home's energy use, such as looking at a programmable thermostat, something like a Nest. If you're interested in applying for the WAP program, you can apply by contacting your local service provider in your area. And if you need help finding who your local service provider would be, you can contact the Commerce Energy Information Center. And I have their information there, their phone number and their email. And it can also, applications can also be accessed online. And I've dropped the link for that. And the energy assistance and weatherization assistance use a joint application for both programs. So if you are looking for either of these, it's the same application. Okay, honorable mention. I did want to mention the Aging in Place program from Habitat for Humanity. You can find your local habitat to learn more about the aging in place work that's happening in your area. It helps older adults age at home and in their communities of their choice. And it collaborates with human services organizations to evaluate their individual needs and provide critical home repairs. So I encourage you guys to check that out. Okay, that was a lot to take in. I just wanted to leave a moment for questions, and this webinar, it will be emailed again to everyone.